A judgment that has divided drawing rooms across India. Imagine this. A young man clears the exams, he clears the physical tests, he qualifies to become a police constable, but then his dream job is taken away. Not because he committed murder, not because he was convicted of corruption, and not because he was involved in terrorism or organized crime, but because years earlier he had been in a consensual romantic relationship with a woman before marriage. And now, in a judgment that has triggered the intense debate across India, the Supreme Court has said something many people never expected to hear from the country's highest court. A consensual premarital physical relationship between two unmarried adults cannot be used to judge a person's character. The court said such relationships cannot automatically be treated as moral turpitude or a black mark on someone's personality. For some Indians, this is a progressive and realistic judgment. For others, it feels like a direct challenge to centuries of social values and cultural traditions. So what exactly happened? Why did the Supreme Court make this observation? And why has this single judgment opened a much larger debate about morality, tradition, modernity, and the future of Indian society? The controversy began in Telangana. A police constable candidate named Gajula Tirupati had been provisionally selected for recruitment. However, authorities later cancelled his selection because of criminal case registered against him years earlier arising out of a relationship with a woman who alleged that he had maintained a relationship with her on the promise of marriage. The matter was later settled before Lok Adalat and the candidate had disclosed the case during the recruitment. Despite the settlement, recruitment authorities concluded that the episode reflected poorly on his character and treated it as an issue involving moral turpitude. The dispute eventually reached the Supreme Court, and that is where the story took an unexpected turn. A bench of Justices Manmohan and Manoj Mishra made it clear that a consensual relationship between two unmarried adults cannot by itself become a basis for declaring someone immoral or unfit for public services. The court observed that times have changed and premarital relationships are now a social reality that authorities cannot simply ignore while judging an individual's character. The court further stated that not every relationship ends in marriage, and merely because a relationship fails does not automatically mean one person cheated the other. Consent remained a central factor in court's reasoning. As a result, the Supreme Court restored the candidate's eligibility and rejected the idea that consensual premarital relationship should permanently stain a person's reputation. Because this case is not really about one police constable, it touches a nerve that runs deep through Indian society. For generations, marriage has not merely been a legal institution in India, it has been a sacred institution. In many Indian families, especially in rural areas and traditional communities, physical intimacy before marriage is considered morally wrong, socially unacceptable, and sometimes even shameful. Parents teach it, religious traditions reinforce it, communities often expect it. For millions of Indians, the idea is simple: first marriage, then intimacy, not the other way around. This belief is deeply rooted across many Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christian, and other traditional communities, even though the reasons and interpretations may differ. Therefore, when the Supreme Court says that premarital sex cannot be used as a measure of character, many people hear something much bigger than a legal observation. They hear a challenge to long-standing social norms. This judgment also highlights a growing tension visible across modern India. The law increasingly focuses on consent, individual liberty, privacy, and personal choice. Society often focuses on morality, family reputation, cultural expectations, and community standards. The law asks, did two adults voluntarily consent? But society often asks, was it morally acceptable? Those are not always same question, and the difference is at the heart of this controversy. The Supreme Court did not say premarital sex is morally right. It did not encourage it. It did not advise people to do it. Instead, court made a narrow legal point. Consensual relationships between adults should not automatically become evidence of bad character. Yet, for many observers, even that statement carries enormous social implications. Supporters of the judgment argue that the court is simply acknowledging reality. They point out that India in 2026 is not the India of 1950. Urbanization, education, mobile phones, social media, dating apps, migration, and changing lifestyles have transformed relationships for millions of young Indians. According to this view, the law should deal with consent and legality, not act as a guardian of private morality. Critics, however, see things differently. They fear that such judgments gradually weaken traditional social values. They argue that while the law may be concerned with rights, society also depends on moral standards and cultural discipline. For them, the issue is not legality alone, but the kind of social norms that hold families and communities together. This is why the debate has become emotional. Both sides believe they are protecting something important. One side speaks of liberty, while other side speaks of tradition. Perhaps the most fascinating part of this entire story is that it forces India to confront a question it has been avoiding for decades. Who decides character? The courts, society, religion, family, or the individual? Can character be measured by private relationships? Or should it be measured by honesty, integrity, violence, corruption, responsibility, and conduct towards others? The Supreme Court has now given its legal answer, but society's answer remains far from settled. Started as recruitment dispute involving one police candidate has become a national conversation about morality, modernity, and the changing identity of India. The Supreme Court's message was clear. A consensual premarital relationship cannot automatically be treated as proof of bad character. But whether Indian society accepts that distinction is entirely different question. Because in India, some of the biggest battles are not fought in parliament, not fought on the streets, not even fought in courtrooms. They are fought inside families, inside traditions, and inside the minds of millions of people trying to balance an ancient civilization with a rapidly changing modern world. And this judgment may be remembered as one more chapter in that continuing struggle.